Hello there. All right, so I finished the movie 24, Time Story. And I gotta say, the only thing that I can guess, I didn't bother looking much more into it, but the only thing that I guess would be an award for this would be the actor. And that's only because he did what he could with what he got. The writing was atrocious, and so it was easy to identify that each character was different, and the special effect, the practical effects, the makeup department did an amazing job with him. They did an amazing job making him look aged, making him look as different characters, even though he was basically twins and then a son. So he was basically playing the same guy over and over and over again. But that was well done. The makeup department did amazing, which seems to always be the case in Indian cinema. I got to say, I give them props for that. That always is amazingly well done. They can make someone look young. They can make someone look old. That's just always well done, and I appreciated it for that. All right. This is a movie about time, and if you watch my watch along, I am very particular about time. I'm very particular about when you try to go back and redo things. I did not like Endgame. I do not like most time travel movies. There's like a butterfly effect. There's even Final Destination is kind of like a time travel movie. And this movie, this 24, throws everything at the wall. Everything there. They have elements of butterfly effect. They have elements of Final Destination. They have elements of just whatever it is. They have elements of it. Okay. It starts off in 1990, and here this guy, he's a genius scientist creating technologies that aren't even close to the time period. And he's creating the steampunk-like watch, which I was absolutely okay with. I'm absolutely fine with them creating a steampunk-like watch. The only issue I had was it's a steampunk-like watch that also has Iron Man tech on it, that also has freaking holograms on it. It was the most audacious, just overly done piece of junk that I had ever seen. They literally threw everything. This is like a kid who, when they get a toy, and I'm guilty of this when I was a kid, where you try to make it do everything. It's just like, oh, this suit of, your imagination tries to make your character be able to do everything. This suit of armor I gave this Lego character is able to do this. It does this. It does this. And they literally took that child's imagination and put it in the watch. No, they had this whole thing in the start of the movie, which revolved around a bird flying in, knocking over a power line, and then flying into the house, dropping a feather into the vat of acid that made it capable for the machine to work. And they just all these little things that went up into coincidence. The villain planned to make sure he was followed so that way he could bait the good guy into doing what he wanted. It was just so many stupid things there that did not work. Oh, the main character is such a terrible human being who's forcing this woman to like him because he has the power of time to convince her that she's thinking things that she's not thinking. He is basically brainwashing her to like him. It was just absolutely aggravating to watch. Oh, and not to mention, if you didn't realize, he's a watch mechanic. And if you don't notice the first time that is mentioned, you will notice by the 21st time that character says it. And he's not the only one that says it. I think his father and his uncle, the two other characters he plays, also say it. His younger self says it twice, which I counted in my score. But the others who said it, oh, even Mitra said it once or twice, I think. So the main character says it, Mani says it 21 times. That's counting the 2 times he says it as a kid. Not counting the other times other people mention, okay? So he's a watch mechanic. He's clearly a watch mechanic. And the sheer stupidity that they wanted him to do this addition to it, it was like they made it out to where only he can do it. Only he can finish what his father created. And, oh crap, the connection but only he can do it. No, anyone could have done that. Anyone could have made that device. It was the dumbest thing. All he did was took if you've had a suitcase with locks on it, like a lock pad, a number keypad, all he did was take that off of the suitcase and add it to the watch. I kid you not. That's all he did. And it was the stupidest thing ever. The whole movie was just absolutely atrocious to watch and ridiculous. I laughed my head off. I laughed my head off several times in this film. Watch the watch along. It's some of the most ridiculous things. There's one part where like a character is thrown, and it is absolutely hilarious. There's another part where when they're escaping in the very beginning, it was absolutely hilarious. I think this movie was trying to be a comedy. It just didn't work as a comedy because it's like they were trying to be serious, but then the CGI, the story, everything just didn't work together, and they were trying to force it all to work together. Like, one thing I kept complaining about was the overuse of modern technology, the overuse of steampunk, just the overuse of everything, and the fact that they were taking joy in it with their music video. And it hated the music just because of what it was trying to reference. Like, there's one song after the fact that he's basically psychologically torturing this woman to like him, and they make a song about it. And it's just like, I don't care for this song just because the context is that he's stalking her and brainwashing her. I didn't care for the first one because the writers were trying to take advantage of the fact that it's like, hey, let's have a song about him jumping from steampunk to steampunk to cyberpunk, back and forth. It was just absolutely aggravating. The whole movie from start to finish was just not good watch. I am honestly not sure how it's considered a great time movie, if it even is, but I'm glad I watched it. It was it was so terribly done. The only thing I could say that was good was the makeup department. The makeup department did an amazing job, but everything else fell flat. I mean, the over-the-top villain was just so cliche. The whole 007 aspect of the villain, like, this is the earlier 007. This was like a Austin Powers, Dr. Evil type villain. Someone who's so over the top that it's ridiculous. Someone who will give the bad guy or the hero back his weapon because, well, we just need to make this fair. How, the sheer stupidity of it. Those like, oh, he's the only one who can do this, yet it's something anyone could have done to fix the watch. It was just all these little things, or to upgrade the watch. All these little things which just didn't serve a purpose, and it was absolutely mind-blowing that this was a film. Who would read this script and be like, I'm in, we got this, we're gonna make an amazing film? Nobody. I mean, there have been some actors who have fired their their manager after casting them in a film, which of course the actor didn't read the script for, but they were basically given the role because the manager did all the work. That happened with Denzel Washington after he did Fallen, I believe it was. He fired his manager because he didn't bother reading the script, and if he had anything to say about it, he would have never done it in the first place. But everything was already agreed to behind the scenes, so he had to do it, and he ended up in this trashy film. Oh my gosh, this movie is just absolutely aggravating. Absolutely, like, everything serves no purpose. Like, the only thing, like, trying to make sense out of it, the whole bird fiasco thing, is the bird is like the time, because time, like in some stories, time, there's always people who manage time, making sure time is straight and narrow. Time is always linear and follows its given path. That's why there's the concept of fate and those who fight with fate. I mean, there's always those, but they had this bird, and I was like, okay, maybe that's the creature of time. Maybe it's trying to make sure time isn't meddled with, but it allowed time to be meddled with. Because if you think about it, if the bird had never gone there in the first place, the watch would have never been completed. So the evil brother would have never heard him screaming that it's finished, it's finally done. He probably would have said, oh, you have this much time to do it, without that scientist ever realizing that he needed a bird's feather for some unknown reason to finish time travel. Because if that guy served a purpose for the history of time, and the fact that he needed to be alive for time to basically be set right, by him being alive, it averted a third world war, that would make sense. That's why because honestly, if the world went into complete turmoil after the fact, like a whole dystopian future, and he goes back to save his father, not to save the world, but just to save his father, and then realizes that changed the entire alternative future, it would represent the fact that the bird served a purpose. The bird's feather, it only completed it because it knew all this had to play out in order to fix it. Because if his brother would have killed him out of sheer anger that the device wasn't finished. See, this is me trying to make sense of the story that makes no sense. I am trying to rationalize decisions that the writers and creators made that there is no rationalization for them. My mind works. My mind as a writer works that way. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work to where everything would make sense. But nothing here made any sense. But yeah, I've rambled for quite a while. This movie was absolutely aggravating to watch. I mean, I could rewrite it and it'd be much better. But then again, hindsight is 2020. So I was going to say hindsight. Hindsight is 2020. So yeah, anyone could watch something and go like, I could have done this better. Anyone can. So it might, but it does sound interesting, right? That the bird is actually a time and is trying to correct time. But that would only make sense if the father served a purpose in the future, which he was deprived of because his brother killed him. That's the only thing that would make sense. That it completed the watch because it knew it had to go back in time. And then at the very end of the film, you see the bird flying over and it's like the bird trying to reclaim time. It's going to take the watch and destroy it, take it somewhere else, or take it to the time. Just so many little things that are just could have been done to add to it. Maybe I'm seeing things are falling through the cracks for me watching this movie and just being annoyed by the stupidest little things, which made me not enjoy it. But maybe there's a greater story here that I just didn't see because I was just too focused on the terrible writing, the terrible dialogue, the overly blown out sequences of action. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles.